Let's jump into our second segment. We're calling this one Legit or Forget. We're going to be going over who we think, why their teams are Super Bowl contenders, as in teams who could get to the Super Bowl, if they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, or if we should just forget it, and that they are not actually capable of that. Their ceiling is a little bit lower, maybe one playoff win, first round exit type of thing. So I guess I'll just start right with you, Jack. Do you have any teams that you believe are particular, Super Bowl contenders here through week six?
Yeah, I would say not to get on the hype train. And I know we were mentioning this a bit before, and it's not intentional for me to mention this to sound too much hype, but I was calling it before, and that's the Lions. The Lions here are 5-1. They're coming off a win against the Bucks, a pretty convincing win. Yes, the Bucks aren't the best team in the league, but they were 3-1. I think it was or something before, and were playing decently. They've beaten teams like the Chiefs. They've been able to really blow out a team like the Packers. They've shown a lot of different stuff there offensively and defensively in these games. And really, I mean, I don't see a super clear weakness of the team. I don't see a super clear. Their defense is very improved with CJ Gardner-Johnson, some of the draft capital, that they've seemed. What was the safety who I now forget? He was like a nickelback / safety, but like with some of their additions in free agency,
Anzalone.
And stuff, yeah, exactly. They got Anzalone. Do not got to make sure not to mispronounce that name. But yeah, he's played their defense is playing pretty well, and that was last year was the big weakness. There's some stat out there in the past 18 games, they're like 12-6 or 13-5 or something since the second half of last season, and they lost to the Seahawks. They lost to a Seahawks team who beat them, I believe, last year, also in a high scoring game. Like that was like 50-45 or something. That game, they lost in overtime in a sort of shootout game against a team that has had their number in recent years. And that's their only loss. Other than that, they would have been the only undefeated team in the NFL. So I'm kind of buying some of that hype. I don't see a clear weakness of this team, other than some players maybe having low ceilings. I could see that argument. Goff maybe having a low ceiling, but I would say hopefully his floor is high enough that he's not going to really crap the bed too much the way other quarterbacks might.
So you're saying legit Lions?
Yes, that's what I am. I'm saying I'm buying the hype.
I'm saying forget Lions. If I could short the Lions right now, I'd do it. All right. Look at this schedule. I'm going to give them the Chiefs win, obviously, but it was a 1-point win with the Chiefs down men, okay, to start the season.
Yeah.
So let's say that. Now, then you play the Seahawks, and you lose in overtime.
Loss.
So right after that, okay, they're 50-50 in my mind, right, against good playoff teams. After that, they've played the Falcons, the Packers, the Panthers, and the Bucks. Okay, that's basically the NFC South plus the Packers. All right? I understand someone from that division will be in the playoffs, but we don't think that they're going to win a game. This is who the Lions have won 3 or 4
any of those
straight
teams
by
can be playoff.
plus 17 or whatever the stat these guys are throwing out there. Look at who they're playing, right? We don't have any faith in those teams. Let's say, okay, against good teams, they've been 500, and that's good. Like you said, maybe not a true weakness in general, but I got to look at the schedule, and if you continue to look at the schedule, this is going to continue to happen. This team, if you look at who they're playing, guess what they got coming up? They got the Raiders, they got the Chargers, they got the Bills, they got the Packers again, they got the Saints, they got the Bears again, Broncos, Vikings twice. You look at the losses.
That's a first round bye right there. That's a first round bye.
Oh, definitely. You've got the Ravens next week, which we'll probably talk about, then the Cowboys in week 17. Okay, that's the games that you would say maybe they lose those games, and even if you give them another one, they're 13-4. If they only lose those two, they're whatever. Like they're 14-3.
Yeah.
Okay, in the NFC. that might be good enough for the first seed. But I don't know. The schedule is it's
That's
very
true.
advantageous. So they
Yeah.
could literally be 14-3, and I'm not sure if they don't, if they lose to the Ravens and maybe beat the Cowboys, I'm still going to have my questions, and I'd forget them.
I think
Um,
that's fair. I think that's fair.
let's talk
That
about
is like
who I think is possibly a contender.
mm.
Um, and I'm gonna have to. I mean, it's obvious, but we don't have to go on it forever. But come on, Kansas City Chiefs. They suddenly their weakness is the pass game. What? Their defense has been locked down all season, and suddenly the formula has switched. They've never been able to win games scoring 17 points, scoring 19 points. Like that's really not been the formula for that team, for this team. And now that that's the strength. They're holding teams to held the Lions to 21, and a big problem in that game was that the receivers weren't catching the ball right. Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes and Andy Reid will find a way to get guys open, to get people comfortable, to make the pass game work. And with that defense, I mean, I'd be more scared of the Chiefs now than I would have been after they won the Super Bowl last year. What do you think, Jack? Legit or forget?
I think that's a really interesting point because when you first said it, I was thinking forget. I was thinking I'm cold. Hot take. I'm cold on them. But
Mm,
but that is a sort of point that you make me think of I would have faith in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes figuring out the offensive woes because the defense has looked pretty good this year. The defense seems to have taken a step up in a lot of ways. It seemed the defense has been looking good, and and yeah, they'll could likely get things together on offense. This happened. It was maybe 2 seasons ago, maybe three. There was a whole thing where the Chiefs got off to a very slow start, and I remember this because who's the guy? Not first take, not first things first or something.
yeah.
Whatever his name is,
Nick
who's
Wright?
a big Chiefs fan, Nick Wright. And I was thinking, what is Nick Wright? The dude is crazy. He's just a Chiefs homer for like putting Chiefs like first when they're were objectively playing poorly, and all the talk. Like, did they figure out Patrick Mahomes has been figured out? Cover two, like two deep safeties, defeats Patrick Mahomes, and for a time it was, but then they got their act together and made it to the AFC Championship that year, if it's the year I'm thinking of, right? And it is like that is the sort of idea where I could see this Chiefs team, if the defense finds a good footing, I think the offense will catch up, which is going to make me agree with you. Although my instinct would be to disagree with you.
Okay.
But
Now let me ask you this one, or
yeah,
do you have one?
oh, I'm curious your question here.
All
I'm
right,
curious your
legit or forget. San Francisco 49ers coming off of this loss to the Browns.
Spicy one. Purdy with a not so Purdy game, but also legit. I think they're legit because I think there's a decent chance of them winning the NFC Championship game. I would say this game puts worries in my mind. I mean, obviously it's a loss, right? Obviously, a loss doesn't put worries in your mind. But I think this Browns team is also in that potential 7 seed sort of territory if Deshaun Watson A comes back and B actually plays half decently. Then I think they're a dangerous team with the offensive scheming and the defense just overall. So I'm not going to write them off too much from that game. It is a tough loss. I mean, if they lost this game, if they won this game, then they're like that gets into will Brock Purdy ever lose territory? Ever lose a game he doesn't like tear his UCL on? It gets into that. Like, wow, they will have won like 13 straight games where he didn't tear his UCL and like 10 straight regular. Like at some point they were due for a loss, and I think there are a lot of worse losses for them to have. So I'm going to keep the faith enough, I'll say.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and disagree. Right now at week 6, I'm going to forget, and it's because I remember the way that the season ended last year. Okay, and now you remind me, Jack. Though, why do you think the 49ers lost in the playoffs last year? What would be the biggest reason you'd say?
I'm gonna say injuries.
Injuries. Very good. Ding, ding, ding. Injuries. Yes. Everyone knows that we've done advanced data analysis on this. Go look at our clips. the 49ers disproportionately are injured more than any other team. Not exactly sure why, but they need to get it figured out. And once again, it's not just that they lost to the Browns, it's that the offense looked particularly worse because they lost a couple of key skill players to injury, right? And this happens to a lot of
And
teams.
it's
But
natural.
frankly,
And
the Lions have had a lot of guys injured. They still look pretty good. The Seahawks have had injuries. They've still, they're above 500. Everyone's dealing with that, but for some reason, the 49ers just seem to have bigger problems in terms of more injuries to bigger key players, and it comes back to bite them more than I think I've ever seen in my entire life watching football. And so, right off the bat, I see it here again in this game, and it makes me think, even if they could get to the Super Bowl, what's stopping Brock Purdy from getting hurt? Then you've got Sam Darnold. They've traded away guys. They've let guys go in that QB room. You traded Trey Lance. You let Jimmy G walk. Now you've got Sam Darnold backing up Purdy, and behind him you've got a guy named Brandon Allen. So for all we know, they're gonna be on their fourth string QB in the NFC Championship, because that's where we were last year. So I'm gonna say for right now, forget, because I'm worried about the injuries.